Hey everybody, welcome to Module 8. A friendly reminder to be safe out there in the cold this Halloween season. Um, Before we go into Module 8, I'd like to kind of tie some loose ends and discuss the midterm essay. Again, it was pretty well done. I was happy with what I saw. Quite a fair number of students got high marks, basically 23 and above out of 25. So some notes which I have here, which you could have addressed in your essay, if you want to go back and have a look at it. Although I don't see a major reason for many of you to do that. Maybe a more concrete plan could have been made with Tom when it comes to Tim scheduling, or at least better hourly tracking. So quite a few of you talked about that. She needs to identify the cost of goods sold and the AP, which means the money owed to her mom, and keep on top of that. There's also the question of dedication to her business, right? In terms of if you want to open up a store, if you want to buy a vehicle, she has to be kind of aware that it might require a little bit of sacrifice of a social life, which might be an interesting point for her, an interesting trade-off, considering that she's still young, and she has to ask herself if this really something she wants to prioritize in her life. You definitely need a better tracking system for customers, especially those who owe you payment. And yeah, it's not a bad idea for marketing purposes and other reasons to have their information available. And I'm talking about email addresses, phone numbers, especially if you're planning on getting a vehicle and offering service at people's homes. You definitely want their addresses in that case too. For taxes, this was kind of like a little bit of a bonus question where you might have had to do your own research. Well, definitely depreciation reduces the business income, and that was probably enough of an understanding at this point. But taxes use their own system called capital cost allowance, or CCA for short. So that's something you could have looked into in terms of how getting a capital asset like a vehicle would have reduced her taxes payable. The possibility of buying a car, not many people discuss this, but there's also a possibility of getting a different vehicle, like a truck, which will allow her to transport bicycles back home and possibly offer better service. To get top marks, I wanted to see a framework of the income statement and balance sheet. Again, it doesn't have to be accurate since the numbers weren't all available, but having a framework there for in your report or your letter, it was a nice touch. Journal entries, examples, kind of obvious. A lot of you did well on that, but some of you really honed in on that and neglected to talk about the other points. So yes, some journal entries, some examples, some discussion of the adjusting and closing entry, which might be required. That was a pretty good idea to touch on that. And with journal entry, generally speaking, you wanted to go into the core of the business, like inventory purchases in terms of her accessories, talking about her sales revenue and her service revenue, right? Though creating two streams, those were all good points. As for Module 8, it's a lot of theory to start off with internal controls and fraud and stuff like that. But you also get a chance to try a bank rec. So I definitely encourage you guys to dive into that chapter. It might come across a little bit dry for some of you, but you do get to get your hand dirty a little bit with a bank rec. Yeah, and we have a couple of interesting discussion threads going at the moment, so try to get involved there. I'm really excited about what I've seen on the discussion thread. A lot of you are sharing your life experience, your work experience, and it's been really interesting for the most part. So see you in Module 9.